I'm Gab. He's not Jules, as you can see. He's future Jules. No, it's Rob Palmer.
Past Jules.
Imagine that. No, Jules is away. He's on a well-earned holiday, no doubt. Gloating this week between Paris Saint-Germain and Arsenal. I think things worked out pretty well. All he needs is Wales to win in the rugby. Are they playing rugby? Probably.
I don't. He'll be floating down the Seine where you're gloating. He'll be gloating and floating. He's probably swimming in champagne, isn't he?
Man, what a Champions League. We've seen so many great goals. We can say the ties are going to be a little bit one-sided now, certainly 3 of the 4, but we just had an incredible week. But clearly the top story is Arsenal winning 3-0 against Real Madrid. 2 Declan Rice free kicks. I think I saw a stat that he played like 330 odd games as a professional, never scored a free kick, and he nails 2 from a million miles out.
Yeah, was it Arsenal hadn't scored a free kick since, was it October 2021? So, I mean, clearly Real Madrid hadn't done their homework on who was going to take the free kick and what they were going to do from it. I mean, the first one was a tale of the unexpected. And then the second one, everybody's looking at him going, he can't do it again, and he does it again. And the second one was more perfect than the first one, wasn't it?
Well, it's not just the free kicks. It's also that he's so far out. Some people are blaming Thibaut Courtois, saying he could have done better. No. You're the former goalkeeper out of the 2 of us.
To get to Courtois, then there has to be several things that have gone wrong before that. The free kick, which we'll get to, which comes down to the team selection of Alaba giving away a free kick on the edge of the area and then giving away a second free kick in the same position. And then the wall as well. And if you see the first one...
Wait, who sets up the wall?
I was going to say, the argument would be, you're right there, if Courtois sets up the wall, then that is the only way that I would blame him, and that if you're a goalkeeper, a goalkeeping coach, you would be screaming at the last man in the wall, and I can't remember who it was now, to step another metre, another yard to the left-hand side. You always tell them to be a yard outside the post. He was a yard inside the post, and that was a big, come and get me, have a little go at this. It was almost like go to the fun fair and throw at the coconut there. So yeah, if Courtois set up the wall, that for me is the only way that he's to blame. But apart from that, I think you detract him from a fantastic free kick and the fact that Real Madrid gave away stupid free
you're saying
kicks.
If Courtois set up the wall, of course he set up the wall. Who else is going to Lunin from the bench? Come on.
Quite often they don't though, Gab. Quite often they will have somebody in the wall that sets it up. That you'll see them turn around and they will look at the wall and they will do it. It depends which club and who your coach is as well. It should be the goalkeeper. It should be Courtois. So he should be to blame. But if not, it comes down to Ancelotti.
There you go. He's going to get a lot of blame. That's a natural transition. By the way, I'm not having to go Courtois. I think it could have been worse without some of those big saves that he made. No. He's one of my favorite players.
Goalkeepers Union is serving you a writ as I speak.
But this being Real Madrid, between this, the points dropped at the weekend, all of a sudden, Ancelotti gone at the end of the season. That's how quickly things turn in Spain.
Yeah, I mean, they have been chugging along, and I think Ancelotti is arguably the best coach out there in the world for the last couple of years. I'd say even better than Guardiola with what he's achieved with a limited bunch, squad of whatever you call them these days, of Real Madrid players.
Wait. You were close to say limited budget. They do have the highest.
But they don't spend the budget, do they? They don't spend nothing on Mbappe, and then the players that they have brought in, Tchouaméni, Camavinga, they've been spending 30, 35 million. So they've not been giving him back the money to go out and buy players. He basically gets the ingredients, and then he's told to kind of bake an omelette from that, isn't he?
Well, yeah, no, he's not literally acquiring the players himself, but they have an enormous wage bill.
Yeah,
I think the issue isn't so much the resources that Real Madrid have thrown at this stage. It's how those resources have been allocated, because Jules and I say this all the time. Kroos gone, not replaced. Mm-hmm. I mean, for me, the two, or actually, I'll say 3. Mm-hmm. One is Joselu gone, not replaced. And you know what? It's always handy to have a center forward so Jude Bellingham doesn't have to play there. Kroos gone, not replaced. Even though you don't need like somebody as good as Kroos, you just need somebody who's just a passer, right? Who can do what Bellingham used to do, or who can do what, or even a fit Dani Ceballos. And then I don't know why injury at the back, and they don't bring in anybody in January. Those to me are cardinal sins.
Yeah, but does that come down to Ancelotti, or does that come down?
No, I'll answer you right now. It's not down to Ancelotti.
But if you go back in time, you'd look at Liverpool this season in the Premier League. Had a fantastic season, but Alisson hasn't been injured, Salah hasn't been injured, Van Dijk hasn't been injured. They've had no injuries there. With him, he's been playing without 3 of his back 4. In the ideal,
but this is why. This is what I'm talking about.
Camavinga's carrying an injury. Yeah, you're right. They haven't recruited, and he hasn't brought any kids through either.
It's not him. Stop saying him.
Yeah.
It's the club, and I think this is Florentino's approach. Yeah. We haven't even gotten into the fact that Mbappe at least had that early chance.
Yep.
Vinicius and Rodrigo were absolutely horrendous. AWOL on this night. Rob, I'm a huge Carlo Ancelotti fan. I don't hide that. You're an Ancelotti fan, but our job is to analyze and criticize. And man, he's going to get a lot of criticism because he's certainly not the only culprit. Some of those stars that you pay absurd amounts of money for, Vinicius, Mbappe, Rodrigo, I'd say especially Vinicius and Rodrigo on this occasion, let him down on the night. But he is certainly one of the culprits with some of his choices. Yeah?
Absolutely, yeah. As we've said frequently, he's found a way to get over the inadequacies of Real Madrid and the players that have been injured this season. But the other night, I'm sure he went home and had a little strong Italian coffee after the game and probably looked at it and went, I got things wrong. He played Alaba at left back, who's hardly played this season. Guy comes on the field with a heavily strapped leg, against a whip it down the right wing as well. First game at left back, even though he's not trusted him really to play in La Liga at all. Immediately there's a weakness. He plays Valverde at right back, which he has done this season, but then he loses the legs in midfield. They were completely overrun in midfield, and we'll go back to that because the strikers were doing no running either. So effectively, I think he's got his team selection wrong when it comes to the second leg.
Help him out. You said he got his team selection wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's time travel. Right. It's Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
Phone rings. It's like, Rob, Carletto, tell me what I should do. Should I stick Fran Garcia at left back?
Yes.
Okay. And then what do I do at right back?
You do what you want because you've got it right 99 times out of 100.
Tell me, Rob. I can't decide. Do I play the old Lucas Vasquez or do I play Fede Valverde, who's done well for me?
It's like talking to him. I close my eyes. It's like no, but you know what I mean. But yeah, but I would say. Going back in time, I looked at it and I tweeted out Alaba left back, bandaged leg. Not played left back this season. That was a glaring mistake. I think with Fran Garcia on the other side, they would have had more movement, more mobility, and they would have got away with Valverde in midfield, and then there's more energy in the team. But they're very, very static with Valverde there and Alaba there, and they're playing a very flat back four, which means those ahead of them have to put the running in, put the energy in, and they didn't, did they? So I think almost one selection was the catalyst for that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the pieces don't fit together. I think he played Alaba ahead of Valverde because it's a big game. I think he feels Alaba can be more tactically disciplined.
Yeah.
I think Alaba is a better one-on-one defender, better reading the game than Fran Garcia, which undoubtedly is.
Yeah.
The other thing is Bukayo Saka is really fast and a good dribbler and very smart. I don't see how, and Fran Garcia is not a good defender, right? He's much better, certainly going forward.
Yeah.
That was his thinking. I think we both agree he got that one wrong. The other alternative could have been playing Camavinga there, which he's done before.
Yeah.
Which has not been great when he's played there. But you needed Camavinga in the middle of the park because Tchouaméni suspended, Dani Ceballos not there, and Valverde playing right back.
Yeah.
So, and the only other midfielder you'd have is 39 years old.
Who hasn't been playing back-to-back games, and then you're relying him to almost go 90 minutes.
So I think, we can criticize the team selection, but I think you would struggle. I mean, there's only so many options, right?
Yeah.
That you would have had.
Yeah.
I don't know that Fran Garcia wouldn't have gotten roasted as badly as Alaba. I genuinely don't. On the right, I think Valverde is actually a good option when he has a good game and can come forward.
Yeah.
Maybe, though, in this game, without Tchouaméni, maybe he was needed more in midfield because Modric is 39 and
Yeah, you've got your best team there. Tchouaméni plays in midfield. Modric comes in for the last 20 minutes off the bench, and I would think that Fran Garcia plays left back. And then your only question is who plays right back. He's got it right in the Champions League and the big games by playing Valverde there and leaving Lucas Vazquez out. I would imagine that he's just got to go for it in the second leg. That he has made an error. It hasn't worked, but they were, again, and let's not take it away from Arsenal. They were beaten by a better team who tactically were more astute on the night, had more energy in the team, and they were more exacting in absolutely everything that Arsenal did as well. It was just a very poor team performance from Real Madrid.
Let's talk elephant in the room, which is his forwards. Mm-hmm. Now, I was in Munich at
Elephants move faster than his forwards.
I was in Munich at the Bayern game, and I got home to my hotel very late, and so I watched the extended highlights of this. 14 minutes. I don't think I saw Vinicius in those 14 minutes at all. I watched the game back the next day and saw that he actually did play. At some point, is somebody going to dare say, how is it that this guy has world-beating games and this guy has really bad games? And I can live with somebody being inconsistent. You're not going to be great every game. Some players, as people like to say here, like, oh, he's a 7 every time. Like, yeah, that's fine. But what I need is from a guy who is a 10 sometimes and a 5 other times, I need him defensively to be at least a 6 all the time, to at least work. Because, this thing about, some days it's not going to work out for you on the ball. That's fine. We accept that. Mm-hmm. But surely you should be there helping your left back away from home in the first leg, even when things aren't working out for you.
Yeah, I probably saw a little bit more of the game, and I'm studying that. And the front three, the great coaches always say it's the front three that are your first line of defence, and they were kind of going through the motions. The ball is being played around at the back. They're making a motion to get 10 or 15 yards away. Then it goes to the other guy, and they would say, I was making the effort. But as you say, you have to dig in. Vinicius Jr. is the man on the left-hand side, has to come back and help Alaba. He may say, and his agent may say, well, Vinny wasn't getting enough of the ball. Those are the games where you've got to go searching for the ball. We've got to take little 1-2s off your midfield.
Look, leave the ball out of it. I'm talking off the ball.
Yeah.
You are away from home, right?
But to get on the ball, off the ball, you've got to put the hard yards in, haven't you? You've got to get into a position where the ball may come to you. But if you're up there on the halfway line, you're defending.
It's 2025.
Yeah.
And look, I don't want to let Mbappe off the hook either, although, he did have that chance early on where you expect him to do better. But I did feel like Mbappe was more present. And as for on the other wing, Rodrigo, again, you have to read the game. If you want to be front foot and play all three of them, and, would Brahim Diaz have given you a better shift? Mm-hmm. Arda probably not right now. In an ideal situation where everybody's fit, maybe he actually plays Valverde on the right, away from home, Champions League first leg. But of course, Valverde can't play 3 different places at once, as good as he is. And by the way, when you were dissing the last guy on the wall, I'm pretty sure it was Valverde.
It was Valverde. When I think back in my mind, he turned his back, didn't he?
But again, if I'm Rodrigo, this is what I don't fail to understand. Like, you can say, oh, look, my best position is on the left side on the attack. I have to play on the right side because these other 2 guys are probably better than I am and certainly much higher paid and are seen as much more of a priority for the club. But dude, to get in the lineup, you have to work your butt. You have to work your backside off. And this is a game where I think he really struggled to do that. And I think he really struggled against Lewis Skelly every time this guy comes forward, right? And then this is the magic of Arsenal, if you will, right? Let's just provide some context here as we transition to Arsenal, because we can just talk about Real Madrid being bad. We're talking about Arsenal being good, right? Let me remind you. People talk about planning and vision and philosophy and Arteta and this and that. The reality is, when you are a manager, you can have seasons where you have to reinvent everything on the fly. Mm-hmm. If you had told Arteta at the start of the season, hey, you're going to play a Champions League quarterfinal and the left-hand side of your back 4 will be composed of Jakub Kiwior, who I think is an open secret they were hoping to get rid of all summer, and Miles Lewis Skelly. And you might say, sorry, who's Miles Lewis Skelly? Wait, is he the kid who plays in midfield for for the youth team, right?
England's future left back now.
No, but understand, right?
Yeah.
And then when you tell him, and your center forward is going to be Mika Marino, he would have started laughing and falling off his chair, right? I just say this to remind people how you can have a plan in the summer.
Yep.
And then, as Mike Tyson says, everybody's a plan until they get punched in the face, right? And then so it's a credit to Arteta for reinventing this. It's a credit to Lewis Skelly to adapt to a position, which again, to my knowledge, he's hardly ever played before. This is almost reminiscent of Trent, who'd never played in midfield, never played a right back, becoming one of the best right backs in the world very, very quickly, right? But that's an achievement. I mean, Kiwior and Lewis Skelly against these guys, that's pretty special.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Arteta has improvised and got his coaching and his tactics much better than the master Carlo Ancelotti, who, as I say, 9 times out of 10, 19 out of 20 this season, has done it right. But when Ancelotti has picked a team and he's playing a centre-back at left-back and he's playing an energetic midfield player at right-back, everybody has to put in a shift. And if you're watching the game and people are saying about Bellingham, when's he going to come on, blah, blah, blah. You watch Bellingham, he's covering a multitude of positions. Valverde does that as well. But as you say, in a game like that where you're away from home and you're having to dig in, those creative types that you have in your team have to put in a little bit more effort. They have to go above that 6 out of 10 and just go through the shadow play that you go on the training ground. They've got to be covering these kids who are trying to make a name for themselves down the left and the right-hand side. And I just don't, as you say, I think hit the nail on the head that those guys, the artists in the team, were kind of, they're throwing their hands in the air and they're not digging in and they're not chasing. It has to be perpetual motion in a game like that.
Yeah, and you mentioned Bellingham there, so if I digress to this too, I've argued for months that Ancelotti should sit him down and say, listen, I know you were basically a center forward last season. This season's different. Go back to playing in central midfield. Be the boss of the midfield, right? Be sort of Paul Ince, Brian Robson. Actually, he's probably too young to even know who those guys were. But you know what I mean? Rolled into one. Like, be the leader of the midfield. Because that's what we need. I would sit him down and say, look, see that guy? That's Aurelien Tchouameni. That other guy, limping, that's Camavinga. This other dude is Ceballos, who nobody likes and we're trying to get rid of, the club want to get rid of. This other dude is Luka Modric, is 39.
Yeah.
You can do their job better than they can.
Yeah.
Right? So adapt to that position. And the fact that it hasn't happened at all this year, it really strongly suggests to me that Bellingham says, no, I don't want to play there. I don't want to go back to be that player. I'm not that player for England. I wasn't that player last year when I was arguably your best player. Well, why should I have to adapt?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know whether he has the gravitas to say that to Carlo and David Ancelotti if they say that to him in the change room. I agree with you.
You don't think they've ever broached this subject with him?
I think what they probably have to do is say, look, we're paying you the wages. We know we've won a lot more than you. You're a fantastic player. You're a young kid. You're international. But you have to be. What you're saying, you're a centre circle player, aren't you? You're making.
Well, no, you don't necessarily label him. You don't say, you are a center circle player.
But you know what I mean?
Say you can be that because you've done that for 4 years, which is why we spent $100 million on you last year in an emergency situation. You played a different position.
Yeah.
And you did it extremely well.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll go back to playing there.
That's because had Tony Kroos there, holding there, and then that allows
this
him to
year, we need you in this role.
Yeah. And if you look at a heat map of him, you get these heat maps, don't you, watching the TV. His heat map should be in that centre of the field, making things happen, making runs forward, coming back, helping the defence. You look at his heat map at the moment, and it's like a mosquito on heat, isn't it? He's all over the place.
I mean, I think what they've been able to sell to him so far is, I think they probably showed him a video of Zidane, where, remember when Real Madrid were out of possession, Zidane would trot back onto the left-hand side of midfield and kind of be a body as opposed to a turnstile like Vinicius, and do his defending there. And then when they got possession, he was free to move inside. Yeah. Right. So I think the best thing is not like, oh look, it was good. It was good enough for Zidane, so you can do it too. So they've gotten him to do that. Like I said, I cannot say for certain, but to me, the fact that it's such a plain, evident solution in games like this for the midfield. And they haven't done it, leads me to think that maybe they tried in training and Bellingham was bad at it. But didn't you think that Bellingham says, no, I don't really want to do that? they don't get the buy-in from him. But
Yep.
let's talk Arsenal. We said we were talking Arsenal. Let's go back.
But what he needs to do is look at Declan Rice, for example, and see how he's evolved over the last couple of years and how he's come on.
Okay, I will say this. I'll be Mr. Contrarian. I'll be Mr. Troll
Not
for a
like
second.
you. Come on, Coach. Right. Come on, you can't do that to us.
Cumulative XG of Arsenal's 3 goals, 0.14.
Yeah.
Arsenal had higher expected goals throughout. If you take out that sequence with the Courtois saves when Arsenal had about 3 clear-cut chances kind of in the same play, did Arsenal create that much?
Courtois made one great double save. I do not subscribe to XG. I'm not part of that religion.
Okay, then just think in terms of chances, right?
That's basically some college student writing things down.
Okay, apart from the double saves. That double save sequence.
Saves, the 2 fantastic free kicks, and the 3rd goal. But
you understand, right?
You wanted to be contrarian.
But what I'm saying is there an argument to be made that the free kicks there's nothing you can do about, right? I mean, these are freak events in terms of play, and we know set pieces are really important to Arsenal, and as they are to every team, maybe especially so for Arsenal. I'm glad, by the way, he took the free quickly so that. And took it directly on goal, so we didn't have to. How the cameras always
free quick. I like that. That's a new term. The free quick.
No, but the cameras always cut to that guy, the Seppi's coach, Nicolas Chauvert, whatever his name is, right? As if oh look, they're gonna score. Let's cut to him, But there's an argument to be made that actually Real Madrid weren't that bad defensively, and we're kind of shifting it onto this that they didn't actually concede. That many.
I hear what you're saying, but I think in every game in the Champions League, it all came down to those finest margins, and it has been a fantastic midweek Champions League quarterfinals, and every single game that we've looked at have come down to that nth degree and either an act of brilliance or somebody taking their eye off the ball. And it came down to Arsenal forcing free kicks and winning free kicks in virtually the same position twice, and Alaba diving in for one, and it was Jude Bellingham that dived in for the other one. And if you're the coach and they go back and they analyse that, they would say, we contain them, but you gave away a stupid free kick on the edge of the area in a position where the alarm bells are going to be ringing as well. So I think Arsenal kept chipping away, and they made Real Madrid play to that absolute maximum defensively, but they found that weakness in there. But I hear what you're saying, but ultimately Real Madrid just weren't good enough, and Arsenal just played to that absolute maximum on the evening.
So the obvious thing with this in our Champions League talking points is, can Real Madrid turn this around? And obviously this is where we trot out all the cliches about the miedo escénico de Bernabeu, the stage fright that happens at the Bernabeu. We talk about the scenario where moment of brilliance, Real Madrid score early, and then all of a sudden, like the Bernabeu heats up, and then Arsenal freak out and bottle it. I'm not saying it won't happen. It certainly can happen. We've seen it happen before. I've covered my backside. But I think Arsenal this season are primarily a really good defensive team.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. Do Real Madrid have the players to turn it around? Yeah, Vinny Jr., if they get on the front foot, they can unleash Mbappe. Bellingham can score an early goal. They put the frighteners on them as well. It's a massive auditorium with that roof on it, something different to what the Arsenal players have witnessed before. You look at the history books, only one English team, I believe, has ever turned it around in the Champions League, and that would be the other way around, has lost a league like that, and that would be Derby County back in the late 70s against Real Madrid. So history isn't exactly on the side of Arsenal, of Real Madrid in there as well. But I just don't think it's going to happen. As you say, Arsenal are disciplined. I don't think there's anybody in their team that is going to lose their head and do something silly that Real Madrid could play on and chip away and try and get a couple of early yellow cards. I think Arteta's probably got it just right on the night. They could lose 1-0, 2-0, but they're not going to lose 3 goals, are they?
You said it here. I'll give you one more stats. Real Madrid have beaten 111 different teams in the history of the Champions League and European Cup. Arsenal, not one of them. All right, enough Arsenal. How about some quick hits instead? Barcelona demolished Borussia Dortmund 4-0 as Robert Lewandowski bags another 2 goals to bring his season total to 40. And Lamine Yamal puts on a masterclass. Rob, is it theirs to lose?
You'd like to say that there's something left in this particular tie, but no. I tweeted the other night that the Barcelona are capable of winning 4-0 or losing 4-0. It was pointed out to me that Barcelona had lost only one game by more than 2 goals this season. That was against Osasuna when they did concede 4 goals. Barcelona are entertaining. They're maverick. They do leave the odd gap at the back, but I think they have enough in their team to not lose this, to not turn it
to
around.
not lose this, obviously. Thank you, Captain Obvious. But I was talking about to win it. Is it theirs to lose? I meant the Champions League.
Oh, the whole Champions League?
Yeah.
The whole Champions League. I don't know if they're quite good enough, but then again, I don't know if there's anybody to stop them as well. It's the most open Champions League ever. It's exciting, isn't it?
It's very exciting, unless you're a Real Madrid fan.
Gab, you love to second guess. Anything Niko Kovac and Borussia Dortmund could have done differently?
Honestly, okay, I was a little surprised that he didn't go with the back three, which had brought them some success, obviously, in the recent revival against Mainz, and I think it was Gladbach in the, Freiburg in the Bundesliga. The thing about this game is, while in the end, if you didn't watch this game, if you were watching the other game, if you were watching Paris Saint-Germain, like Jules probably was, well, Jules was there, you would have thought, oh, well, they battered them. And in the end, it's 3.71 XG to Barcelona, whatever else. However, I'll refer you back to something else. I'll refer you back to the fact that Rafinha's goal came late in the first half, as I recall. And Rafinha's goal, that was the one where Kubarsi heads it. And Rafinha, yeah. So that's
the goal that he stole.
Yeah, that's 0.94 expected goals. And it's potentially a very tight offside.
Yeah.
If I'm Flick, if that gets ruled offside, the reality is it's so close that, it's not like Rafinha's like,
it's a sliding doors moment, isn't it? Yeah.
100%. I said, why are you going for the ball when it's going in?
I
Why?
Think everybody said the same thing. And then the camera captures his face and he's so sheepish as well, isn't he? He's like,
no. If that goal gets disallowed and they go in at halftime at 0-0 at home at the Camp Nou, this game can go in a very different direction. So I think I want to give Kovac credit for that. Again, I know you don't like expected goals, but they had 13 shots, 1.29 XG away from home. So you know that there's always opportunities. It's just the way Barcelona play against them. And yeah, I don't think they're going to turn this around, but I don't think that this was a bad account. Sometimes you have to just tip your hat to the fact that Yamal, Rafinha, Lewandowski, Pedri, who I think is just playing out of his skin right now. These guys are really good.
So Kovac is just going to throw everything out of the window in the second leg, has he?
Yeah, I think he's just going to focus on getting into the Champions League and the Bundesliga.
Brilliant.
Inter win 2-1 away to Bayern Munich in their first leg as Davide Frattesi grabs a late winner, and Ballon d'Or Lautaro notches a worldie with the outside of his boot. Rob, Inter, along with Atletico Madrid and nobody in the Premier League, are one of the few sides that plays front two. Yet it seemed very effective on the night. Why does nobody play front two anymore?
That is a very good question. When you asked me and you threw me, you had to throw as a curveball on this. I was thinking desperately, are there any teams out there? There's Martinez, isn't it? And Thuram, and then Atletico Madrid. I guess you're saying it's Alvarez and Griezmann. You may argue that Griezmann doesn't play as a regular front two as well. I guess it comes down to the coaches. I mean, how many teams play a front three? How many teams play a front one? It's a very, very good question.
Everybody plays one or three.
Yeah.
It's essentially the same thing.
And I guess what they do, I mean, I couldn't speak with more experience about Atletico Madrid. They've tried various things this season. They've tried playing a front three. They've tried playing a front one.
No, I know Atletico Madrid.
And then when they got to the point, Simeone went, you know what? I'm going to go back to a 4-4-2. And these are the players that I've got
when you
there.
were playing, everybody played 4-4-2,
Everybody played
right?
4-4-2.
It just seems like it's gone out the window completely.
It's maybe the evolution of the modern footballer, isn't it? That used to have a big man, little man, taller man, runner. And maybe it just comes down to the coaches as well and what the coaches have done. Right, Gab, Thomas Muller came on and scored for Bayern. Vincent Kompany is getting criticism, not just for the defeat, but also not sending him on sooner, especially after it emerged that his contract won't be renewed.
I'd go back to my front two argument on this one. I wrote a whole piece about this. Look, there's a lot of emotion there. Obviously, he's been at the club for 25 years. He didn't like the way that they announced that they were not giving him a new contract. I think rightly so.
He superseded it, didn't he?
Yeah. Comes on 15 minutes from the end. Half of Bayern's expected goals, there you go, that word you don't like, came in the last 15 minutes when he was on the pitch alongside Harry Kane. If you don't have Musiala to open things up and you're against a team that defends very well, like Inter do, sometimes it's better to have two guys up there because you have another target. I think it's as simple as that. So Company gets a lot of criticism. What I will say about Company is he's going to finish. Bayern are going to win the league. Mm-hmm. They're projected to finish with their highest points total since 2018, and he was the 7th choice, and he's had a whole slew of injuries. So I think we need to give Vinny a little bit of credit.
Because we look at the team, I was looking at the names. It's not a familiar team, is it?
No, because everybody's hurt. Mm-hmm. All right, Rob, we're not done. We have more quick hits. Paris Saint-Germain beat Aston Villa 3-1 at the Parc des Princes in their first leg. Rob, did they look as good as advertised?
Well, I've heard and seen the weekly advertisement from the cheerleader of Paris Saint-Germain, Jules. And Jules, they are better than you said they were. They've come of age. I mean, Dembele, I saw a lot in Spain. He is now, he's verging on world class. Kvaratskhelia, everybody's known that he's been a great player over in Italy.
Do you like how he put that guy on his backside?
Oh,
Disasi?
Absolutely.
See ya!
Hey, Nuno Mendes as well. I mean, he scored the crucial goal as well. Doué, was he only 19 years of age?
Double D!
Yeah, and Luis Enrique, proving what a world-class coach he is as well, who created a bit of a revolution at Barcelona. So, yes, they are better, and if they need him, as they probably will do in the second leg, Donnarumma behind them as well. So, yes, better than advertised.
And we haven't even mentioned Speedy Barcola, who came on.
We could have mentioned them all, gone through the whole lot. That late Nuno Mendes goal really hurt Unai Emery. Would he have been happy with 2-1, do you think, Gab?
Oh, I think 100%. And I think he's going to be very disappointed. But, 2-1, like Villa, I think, are still in it because Unai Emery, like I said before, not the biggest fan, but massive respect. I think tactically he is one of the smarter guys out there. There's all to play for, I think, at their house still. But obviously at 2-1, you only need a goal, and then anything can happen. 3-1, it's already, I think, slightly different dynamic. Seeing the impact Amadou Onana had, I'm kind of surprised that, I know he's had injuries and stuff coming back, but for me, maybe could have been a fixture, should have been a fixture in this game. I'm guessing he went with Rashford and that setup with Rashford at center forward instead of Watkins because maybe with Marquinhos out, maybe he felt that Rashford had more of the directness to take advantage of Beraldo. And to be fair, Beraldo I thought was at fault for the goal. But yeah, I think Emery has to take his hat off. Like these guys are more skillful. They run faster and harder, and they never stop running. I mean, they combine quality and quantity to the nth degree. And I think 2-1, I'm not saying it would have been a fair result, but it would have been a good result for Aston Villa.
Correct. There's a love in there, isn't it? Correctly so.
Yeah. Rob, when every media outlet reports the same thing all at once, it's usually because someone has spoken out on background, and the club might have perhaps confirmed it. I'm not suggesting, I'm just speculating, Liverpool. And everybody's reporting that Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk's contract renewals are imminent. They're talking a 2-year deal.
Yeah, it seems to be the same story reported in many media outlets. You used to say newspapers. Who buys a newspaper these days? But media outlets. I used to be part of that pack in the local radio station and working for the Press Association up on Merseyside as well. And they called it the Merseyside Mafia. And sometimes you will get that little nod from somebody within the club. And that appears to be what has been happened. And what seems to be coming out is that Salah and Van Dijk are going to sign a 2-year contract, extend their legendary status at Liverpool Football Club. We're just not getting a lot of kind of detail on it, whether there'll be a buyout clause for Salah, for example, after a year if he wanted to go abroad, or if Van Dijk has to play so many games to trigger a 3rd year. But it looks like it's good news for the Liverpool supporters that those two are going to be around for 2 more years after this long, drawn-out saga.
I've said this all along. It's good news, but not at any price. It's good news if, and the early reports seem to indicate this, they're not getting massive pay rises or anything like that, because the reality is skills decline, and I think Van Dijk has played every minute of every game this season, except for some nonsense in the League Cup or something like that, where I think he was substituted a few minutes before time. No, actually, sorry, it was Spurs. It was Spurs away. He came off with like 10 minutes ago. I think that's the only time he's come off in a game this season. So,
and it gives them a chance, the evolution, to find their replacements as they're still around as well, and not ask them to play 45 games a season, I guess, doesn't it?
Yeah, the key thing is the number, and we'll find out whether this was the right decision or not.
2 out of 3 ain't bad. Napoli take the lead, but they're then held 1-1 at Bologna as Dan Ndoye scores a ridiculous backheel equaliser. Gab, they could have cut Inter's lead to just a single point at the top of the table.
Yeah, this is way back on Monday night. They could have also lost this game if the Punisher, Santiago Castro, had actually punished them like he's supposed to do based on the nickname I've given him. This is the same story with Napoli, right? Andre Frank Zambonguisa scores a tremendous goal in the first half. Hey, look, we're 1-0 up. We're in control. No worried. And then in the second half, they regress. They invite the pressure. I know Bologna are a good side, but their expected goal second half, 0.08. All they managed was just 4 silly off-target shots. That's not good. Conte has to provide, let's get them to do a 90-minute performance, because the reality is they're not playing European football. Their players should be well rested, and he's Mr. Intensity and so on. I'd be concerned, because I know they have a much easier run-in than Inter do, but this was a massive dropped opportunity. Newcastle scored 3 times in the first half, none of them by Alexander Isak, I might add. And they wrap it up early en route to a 3-0 win away to Leicester, who really are terrible. I mean, honestly, they should rewrite the Premier League season and say, like, no. It's not Southampton or the worst team in the Premier League. It's Leicester. Rob, but Newcastle are rolling along nicely.
Absolutely, yeah. Up to, was it 5th place now? They've got a game in hand as well. They've got that trophy. The fans are just about sobering up after winning at Wembley Stadium as well. So I think they're going well, and especially with the news now, there's that kind of comfort blanket and the insurance that definitely 5 places in the Premier League are going to get you in the Champions League next season.
You're giving away all the stuff we're going to talk about later.
Well, I don't think that's a secret. There's maybe another kind of dimension to that as well, isn't there? But yeah, I think things are going brilliantly up in the northeast of England. I think they're very happy. Gab, Man United play Lyon on Thursday night in the Europa League, but how about the war of words between Andre Onana and Nemanja Matic?
Okay, so I am 100% Team Onana on this one. Mm-hmm. Onana comes out, and it sounds like it's one of those like giveaway things about you confident, and he said, yeah, they're weaker than we are, essentially, right? He says, we're a better side, which I don't have a problem with. That's not disrespectful. That's his view. And then what does Matic come back with? He says, Onana is one of the worst Manchester United keepers ever. You know, if it were Schmeichel, Van der Sar, De Gea talking, I might listen, but not him. I'm paraphrasing here. Well, first of all, just because you're a good keeper doesn't mean you're not a complete moron who says nonsense, right? So the two things are not linked. Mm-hmm. Because you think Onana is bad doesn't mean that he's wrong when he says United are better than Lyon. Maybe he's wrong, maybe he's right. We'll find out on the pitch. Onana fires back and says... And he says, like, I'm sorry, I never disrespect opponents. And then he throws in, unlike some people, I won a trophy at Manchester United. And I did some research on this, and it's true. United won the FA Cup in his first season last year. Whereas, you know how many trophies Nemanja Matic won at Manchester United?
Educate me.
As many as you did. 0. Your trophies came with other clubs. UEFA have rejected a proposal to eliminate extra time in the Champions League knockouts. Does this make sense to you, Rob?
Probably does. I think there's a general belief that there hasn't been a great kind of extra time in many of the cup competitions. It probably helps the TV broadcasters as well, that they know it's going to end on time, and then it's probably the evolution of the game as well. Maybe in a few years' time we'll go to quarters and people get their own way as well. But it probably does make sense. I think that kind of with the loss of the away goals and everything, a bit of that kind of the extra time of the Champions League is maybe old school.
Well, they rejected the proposal, so they're going to keep the extra time.
They're going to keep the extra time.
Oh, 100%. It would have been so stupid to get rid of it.
Oh, really?
This isn't the League Cup. I mean, people actually care about this.
But are they not going to re-look at it again in 20?
No, they're not.
Rejected
and they should not. And the reason they're doing this is like, oh, no, because players are tired and get injuries. It's not 30 minutes of extra football in the Champions League, which, by the way, only a handful of players actually play, and it's a competition people actually care about and people tune in for. That's not what does it. I mean, this is a stupid proposal. And I'm sorry, broadcasters. Hey, we happen to work for broadcasters too. That's not a good reason either.
The Premier League has spent around £20 million on lawyers, according to the Times, Gab. I assume this is tied, let me guess, to maybe the Manchester City case?
100%. And they'll have to pay even more if they have to pay Manchester City's legal costs, which they might do if they lose.
That's going to be more than that, isn't it?
Arsenal's win over Real Madrid means it is now guaranteed that the top 5 finishers in the Premier League will qualify for the Champions League next year. Most likely La Liga will be the other league, but to get 5 teams. But that's TBD right now. Rob, shall we do that thing where we make predictions? I'm now going to read. Okay, we're going to take it as Liverpool have qualified for the Champions League. And I'm pretty sure Arsenal have as well.
Okay.
Or they're just
I get you.
So
yeah, get in the premise.
We'll rule them out for a second.
Get in the premise.
But I think there are 3 spots still legit up for grabs. This is a table. Forest on 57 points. Chelsea on 53, Newcastle on 53, but they have a game in hand. City on 52, Aston Villa on 51, and I've extended it down to Fulham on 48 and Brighton on 47. Because you know what? That's really not that far back. Give me your percentages.
Yeah, when I do this, I get flashbacks to being 16 years of age and doing my GCSEs or O levels back then. And what is he going to ask me when I come on this show? And you throw football questions at me, and then you give me something in percentages. Okay.
Whatever numbers you come out has to add up to 300.
All right, have you got your calculator? Producer Mark got the calculator here to do this. Okay, Forest 57 points, looking good, proving difficult to beat no matter how many times you knock them down. 80%.
Okay, I've gone 70%.
You've gone
Forest.
70.
Sorry, Mr. Marinakis. Please don't spit.
Chelsea, 4th place, 53. Not quite know what you're going to get. I'm going to give them 60%.
I've also gone 60% for Chelsea.
Great minds on this one occasion think alike. 5th place, Newcastle United, 53, on a wave. No, they're in Europe. Fans are on a high. Game in hand. I'm going to go 80% as well.
Okay, I've gone 70% for them because still Newcastle.
Okay, City. I don't know if I put them in my equation right. City, I'm going to go. City, I'm going to go. City, I'm going to go 50%.
50%. Wow, shots fired. I've gone 60% for City.
We're not that far out.
It's still City.
Yeah.
But there is no Erling Haaland.
Now, what are we up to now? Because I've actually changed my calculations. And then Aston Villa, I'm going 60%.
Okay.
Have we added that up? Because I've actually changed this because I actually didn't put Manchester City in. So Forest, 80.
Yep.
Are we adding this up? Chelsea, 60.
Yep.
140. Newcastle, 80.
Yep.
220.
Yep.
Villa.
Did you skip City again?
City again, 270.
Okay.
And I've got to give Villa 30% then.
All right. Well, I went 60% for City, 39% for Villa. That's very scientific because I also give Fulham a 0.6% chance, and even Brighton a 0.4% chance.
Really? That's like XG, isn't it?
It's not like XG. Like Brighton's a professional gambler. It's owned by professional gamblers, Tony Bloom. And one thing, the way he made his money on at the beginning is backing a lot of long shots because long shot odds are always bigger than they should be.
I think one thing we can ascertain is I'm never going to get a job in the Tony Bloom empire, am I?
Probably not.
Right, Manchester United will leave right after the last game of the season to play 2 games in Asia, and then they'll have a tour of the United States in July as part of the Premier League series. Gab, so much for player fatigue, eh?
Yeah. Look, they got to make money. I mean, Ratcliffe has said it every which way about, I got a little ridiculous. The club are going to go bust, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, but they want to make money. They reckon they're going to make around $10 million from the Malaysia and Hong Kong games. United players, you know what? If you win the FA Cup final or the Champions League, you'd be working that week anyway. So don't complain. You get on a plane, you go on a jolly to Malaysia and Hong Kong, your club makes some money so they can afford your exorbitant wages. I don't want to hear it. If we want to have a serious conversation about player fatigue, let's have that, and let's start with the players. Let's look at maybe individual caps on minutes for players and things like that. But not just this sort of generic, like we said earlier, we need to eliminate extra time in the Champions League because, Rodri broke his ACL. They're not the same thing, okay? Stop. Tottenham Hotspur also kick off in a couple hours in the Europa League, and Ange Postecoglou says there's too much
Easy for you to say.
Ange Postecoglou.
Thank you.
Postecoglou says there is too much negativity around the club, which turns, and I quote, I like this, gold into crap, unquote. Rob, do you agree?
I do agree with Ange, actually. I have an incredibly large number of friends, and I don't know why this has happened and it's evolved like this, but that are Tottenham fans, and they're all the same. They've got this belief that they are a top 4, top 5 club in the Premier League and they should be winning trophies. in my lifetime, I can't remember that many, and they just seem to actually just wallow in this negativity around Ange. They get decent managers in, and then they turn them into kind of quivering wrecks as well. I've got a pal that runs a Tottenham podcast, and it's all negativity week in, week out. The guy says he wins a trophy, and the second season that he's in charge, there's a very good chance of that. Why not work on the positives rather than the negatives? But he seems to be fighting the fans more than the opposition at the moment.
Well, it's fine for him to work on the positives. I have no issue with Tottenham fans being negative. I think they should be negative because there's been a lot of negatives this season, from the way the team has played to the fact that I can never remember if they're 13th or 14th in the table. It's them or Manchester United, two exercises in massive futility. They'd be even lower if not for the fact that there's at least two teams, some might say three teams, that clearly do not belong in the Premier League and might as well be playing a different sport. And yes, I'm talking about Southampton and Leicester City. They've actually spent money, but they stink. I mean, they're really bad. And yeah, they've had injuries, but I'm sorry. If you're a Tottenham fan, you got the best stadium in the country, and you've got these big name players, and you look up, and ahead of you, far ahead of you, you see Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest and Brighton and teams with much lower resources than you do. Of course you're going to be angry. So this gold into crap, it's not the negativity that turns the gold into crap. It's been Tottenham this season that has turned gold into crap. Just my take.
Fair point. Sticking with Spurs, Gab, no surprisings for guessing who is the highest paid executive in the Premier League. Answers on a postcard.
Why, yes, it's Daniel Levy, of course. And now, his salary, his compensation package this season was $3.7 million, which is down from the $6.6 million he made last year. But that included a $3 million accrued bonus for all the fine work he's done over time, I guess. Levy, of course, is the subject of much of the fans' ire, who point out that it's been, 20-odd years since they last won a trophy. Mm-hmm. What I would say is, hey, look, when you're both the big boss and also one of the owners, the minority owner, I think he has got 25, 30% of the club, something like that, the compensation committee involves you sitting around with the other guy who's 1 million years old and his daughter and saying, all right, I think I should get this. I genuinely wonder how it works. I genuinely don't see why, when you are the owner, when you literally own the club and have hundreds of million in equity in the club, why you should get a proper salary and nothing more than a stipend.
You think you should just do it for the love?
No, he's done it as an investment. He's a founder. Mm-hmm. I mean, did you think Elon Musk paid himself bazillions when his businesses were starting up? I mean, I don't. I
Spurs isn't exactly a startup there, though, is it? I mean, they may play like that, but
this is true. Touche. You make a very valid point. Jules and I like the Club World Cup, so we don't need additional reasons to tune in. But Rob, many in this country do not. FIFA have introduced something new, which might attract more viewers. A ref cam.
Are you saying new, Gab? This is old hat. Back in '89, do you remember it was Granada TV, where I used to work back in the day, stuck one on David Ellery on Arsenal against Millwall, and it would be largely unbroadcastable these days as well. I think Jared Gillette, his last game in Australia as well, in the A-League, they put one on him, and he was having lots of banter as well. Yeah. But this in a game like this, with players like this is going to be revolutionary, and it's going to make it almost watchable, Gab, isn't it?
Really? You're going to tune in just for the ref cam? They should have a special, I'm sure they'll have a special ref cam stream option for like the Uber ref. Pretty sure that's what Dale Johnson's going to watch.
You know, the same executive that put one on David Ellery also put one on Peter Reid when he was the Manchester City manager. And we actually used to go to Peter Reid on the bench at Manchester. Okay. That one never quite took off.
I'm guessing if this was in 1989 when you were working at Granada.
It was before my time, just before my time at Granada.
All right. I'm guessing that back then they didn't have, like, you know how some people like to get lost on YouTube on those like police body cam videos where, you know, like they pull over a driver, have weird or a sovereign citizen, they have weird conversations with them. I'm guessing the technology wasn't what it is today, where now the body cam is just like a little, it's like a little clip. Back then, did they really have dudes running around with those big cameras Like, how did they do that?
When they say that, they literally had him mic'd up. They had a microphone on him, and I think
so you didn't have a camera.
They would you'd have a manager camera. There's always a camera assigned to the managers. I guess they had a ref cam, so the camera that would be covering him, but from the sidelines or from up above.
No, but this is different. This is clips to him. You can see what the referee sees.
Am I right in thinking that when they've done this in rugby, they've stuck like a headband on them, so they're going to look like a cyclops, aren't they?
Whatever. I think it's pretty cool. Any gimmick to sell more World Cup tickets. Why not?
Right, sticking with the Club World Cup, and I know that you love it. Some suggest that FIFA are having a little difficulty in selling tickets for this mammoth, worldwide, groundbreaking event.
Hence the ref cams. Yeah, in the U.S. where you can legally buy tickets on the secondary market, some tickets for some games are selling at less than face value already, which isn't a great sign. And also, I find this needlessly complicated. So basically, if you buy to help promote it, if you buy what they call a standard pack, which is 2 or 3 games, you have the guaranteed option. You have the option of buying then a ticket to the proper Men's World Cup in 2026.
An option.
But you can only you have the option to buy a ticket for a game at FIFA's discretion, and it won't be the final. So could be anything. I mean, there's 48 teams, right? That seems like a tough sell. But now if you want the guaranteed option of having a ticket at the historic final, you need to buy the super ticket pack. Now, this to me sounds like a little bit of a scam. I mean, not a scam in the sense that they're trying to cheat people, but a scam in the sense that I don't see who could possibly do this. You buy one ticket, which gives you access to 20 different Club World Cup games. It's genuinely difficult to attend 20 different Club World Cup games, given that there's only 22 separate match days. Apparently, you can give it to friends and family or whatever. But if you do that, then you get the right, not get a free ticket to the World Cup final, but you get the right to buy a World Cup final ticket in 2026.
Can I ask you one question? Because this is very MLS. Do you get a discount if Messi doesn't play?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And then if Messi is, to a non-Messi game, Lucas Paqueta's spot fixing trial is going to be adjourned until June, according to The Guardian.
Really?
Now, as you know, he's accused of spot fixing, where he was getting bookings intentionally and then people back home, which, by the way, back home is Paqueta Island. It's not, the island wasn't named after him. Mm-hmm. He was named for the island. There was suspicious betting activity. So they appointed a 3-man independent panel, and they had 3 weeks to sort this out, figure out what the punishment should be. Apparently, they couldn't work it out in 3 weeks, and they'll have to go because these lawyers, and you know my thoughts on lawyers, have other commitments. I just from a fairness standpoint, justice delayed is justice denied. This is unfair to Paqueta. It's doubly unfair to West Ham. How are they supposed to plan for this summer?
Yeah, it does. It seems really unfair, doesn't it? Especially when you say back to 22, 23. We're in 2025 now. This is almost 3 years ago as well. It has been hanging over him. It has been hanging over the club as well. He's a world-class talent. He's the best player at the club as well. How do you replace him if it goes horribly wrong? If he is around next season, then that's a huge chunk of your playing budget as well. So yeah, from a playing point of view and from a human point of view, and maybe from a legal point of view as well, it is certainly unsatisfactory. Now, Paul Pogba gave a long interview to L'Équipe in France, Gab. He's still without a club after his ban ended. What did he say? Can you roughly translate for me?
Yeah, well, he basically talked about how badly he wants to come back and play and stuff. How he goes back to being a kid, and he talked about, we know about his ban, how it transpired. And I think, you can have your own opinion about whether he was intentionally taking performance-enhancing drugs. He says, of course, he took some supplements which belonged to his wife and blah, blah, blah. But bottom line is Cass bought his argument because they reduced his ban from 4 years to 15 months, and now he's free to play again. I was struck by the fact that he talked about how he started suffering from depression, and it was the second time in his career. The first time, unsurprisingly, was at Manchester United under Jose Mourinho. Shocking that. And he says he realized it because he started losing his hair. This manifests itself in different ways. I think men in general are conditioned not to talk about mental health, especially in the macho world of football, world that, you were actually on the inside as a player. I am sure that when you were playing at 17 or 18, like nobody talked about their feelings, right, in the dressing room. And
there's a very long story. Yeah, you go to a football club, they sign you, and then you're put in digs. Back in the day, you were left behind. I think it's more human than holistic, as they say these days. But he doesn't have a club. He doesn't have those people. Doesn't have that backup unless he takes his own people on board, does he? Yeah. There's an image of these world superstars, but there's a human being behind that.
And let's not forget, this is also a man who's literally been on trial because one of his own brothers literally arranged for people to, not just people, but childhood friends that he grew up with, to kidnap him wearing balaclavas and wielding automatic weapons to try to extort money from him. So he's had to go through that betrayal as well. So I don't know. I have a lot of time for Paul Pogba.
He needs football, doesn't he? He needs a release from life, really.
Rory Delap's release clause goes down to £30 million reportedly if Ipswich get relegated, which they're not relegated yet. Would be cool if they stayed up. I think it's going to be really difficult. Rob, Chelsea and United have been linked. And if he goes back to City, they have a 20% discount because they have a 20% sell-on fee as well. This seems like a no-brainer. This seems like a great deal.
I just realised you said Rory Delap. Liam.
Oh, yeah, Liam Delap.
It's a mistake everybody makes week in, week out, commentators especially.
Younger listeners,
somebody might want to sign Rory. He had he's 48 years of age now. Go on, tell him.
Younger listeners may not know this. Liam Delap is the kid. Rory Delap is the dad. Rory Delap, also a professional footballer, known for his long throw-ins. Weirdly, because it's a weird place, Rory Delap represented in a different country, the Republic of Ireland, whereas this guy, of course, is in England under 21 international. So there you go. Yes, it's Liam Delap.
Sorry.
All right, what's your take? And is it a good deal?
I think 30.
What's a better fit?
Yeah, I mean, 30 million for Delap, and I think he's been one of the few players at Ipswich who's come out with his reputation intact this season, isn't he? He goes in and he works.
Leif Davis says hi.
Yeah. I don't know what his buyout is, but yeah, we're talking Delap.
No, you're just talking about reputation.
Yeah, there's a few players there as well, but I think Delap's
Sammy
a good
Smodish waves too from across the room.
What's their buyouts?
Amari Hutchinson. What? You got something to say to me, Palmer?
You're now building a team at Ipswich that shouldn't be going down. Do you know that? They're underperforming.
Actually, isn't the goalkeeper the guy's been playing? Isn't he named Palmer too?
Yeah, he's a great goalkeeper.
Is he a relative of yours, fellow goalkeeper?
Clearly not if he's playing Premier League football. He hasn't got my genes. But probably good business by City as well to have a 20% discount. You know what City could do? They take him back. They could loan him out and give him a contract. And
take him back and play him when Holland's not there. This is what I don't understand. What is this obsession with, like, City went into the season with only Holland, yeah? I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah. You got Marmoush halfway through the year. Holland's not going to play every game. In fact, he's injured now, right? Sometimes you can play Holland with Delap. Delap, by the way, is not just a big lump. He can do different things. Guess what? Neither is Holland. I don't understand. To me, this is very, very obvious.
And now they could have Rory sitting next to Carlin's dad as well in the stand.
Yeah. There you go. But I mean, I think clearly his market valuation is higher than this because he's English, because he's young, because he's a center forward. The way I see it, he's in a super strong position and he can negotiate a good contract. This is almost like being on a free transfer, and not that it's free because you have to pay 24 million. But when it's less than that, you can say, "Hey, I should be worth 50 million or 40 million. You can give me some of that in wages."
Yeah, it makes him very attainable, and of course, he learned his trade at my team, Hull City, as well, which is part of the.
So he's one of your peeps.
Absolutely, yeah, we played a part in that. Gab, former Tottenham Hotspur, we're supposed to say, aren't we? Not just Tottenham. And Juventus director of football was linked to Milan job. But Gabby's ban for accounting irregularities doesn't end until July 2025. How does that work?
Yes, I left his name out of the question. I apologize.
I was looking for that.
It's Fabio Paratici.
You say so beautifully.
So Milan had their casting for their director of football. It looked like, all of a sudden, he was the favorite. And then all of a sudden, he wasn't. Some people have linked it to the fact that they realized he's banned. Okay, two things to this. First of all, Milan knew that he's banned. Right, three things, actually. First of all, Milan aren't stupid. They know that he's banned until July 20th, 2025. Second point, July 20th, 2025 is not that far away. It's literally this summer. Thirdly, bans on director of football. We always have this argument with Jules that like when they have touchline bans for coaches, the way they enforce it now are completely demented because the guy's still there in the stadium and he's just talking to them through his phone rather than real life, right?
The better view of the game.
Yeah, you should have a real ban. You should X hours before the game, X hours after the game, whatever. You sequester him somewhere.
Skip, that kind of thing.
No, he can go to the game, but you just have him sit with a chaperone and no phones. You sit far away, watch the game, and you can't have contact. Otherwise, what's the point? It's not like he plays, but whatever. With directors of football, I think the reality is that what does a ban mean? All directors of football do is talk to other people on the phone and have lunches. What are you going to do? Ban him from take his phone away? Stop him from meeting other people? They can't sign paperwork, sure. So there was a question about this, and the Italian FA the president of the Italian FA came out. This is like, well, look, he can't work until July 20th, 2025, but he can be paid.
Really?
Yeah. Nobody is going to be paid
without working.
And some people might even suggest that he's done advisory work in this time without being a director of football, which is not illegal. So, yeah, this is such needless nonsense. They have to find, if you are going to ban people from holding these executive roles, you need to find better ways of enforcing that ban. Otherwise, it's just a joke.
Wow.
Moises Caicedo has had his Audi Q8 seized by police after he was stopped for driving without a valid license. Okay, Rob, are you surprised he drives an Audi and not a fancy footballer car?
Before
I'm sure it's the nice Audi, but still.
Before I said this is like when you do one of those this is the trick question, isn't it? He shouldn't be driving any car, Gab, because your question says he was driving without a valid license, so he shouldn't be driving any car. Maybe what he should have is a big Merc or BMW with a driver there driving him around. But no, Gab, he shouldn't be in an Audi Q8. He shouldn't be in a Mini. He shouldn't be in a Tesla. He shouldn't be in anything because he's banned from driving.
What I also don't understand, though, this is his third year in England, I believe,
Yeah.
right? Driving without a valid license, I presume, means that either your license has been speculating, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
So it doesn't say driving on a suspended license, right? He has a license that's not valid, which might be a license.
It could be a foreign license. It could be a provisional. It could be
something he printed up at home.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish they'd tell us more rather than just saying like, his car was impounded. and I bet the police were disappointed that it's just an Audi. Audi, I don't want to diss you.
That got around
you
the
make fine cars. I just associate footballers with, I don't know, Bentleys, Ferraris, Lamborghinis.
What's a Q8 look like?
I don't know. It's probably the sport version of their, but it's a freaking Audi. I mean, I'm not. Again, I don't want to diss the Audi. My mom drives an Audi. Okay, they're fine cars, but
does she want a job driving Caicedo around? Because you need to drive.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, Gab. Brann in Norway were fined by UEFA after their fans displayed a banner reading UEFA Mafia at one of their games. They appealed the ban all the way to CAS. What happened next?
What happened next was that Brann won.
Wow.
This is over a point of principle because ultimately they were fined, I think, something like £5,000, which is a little over $5,000. It's just that, Norway is a very wealthy country. They have a lot of oil. They're kind of like the Qatar of Europe, as I like to say, because they have a monarch and they have a sovereign wealth fund. So they said, no, we can afford to stand on a point of principle and we'll pay lawyers to fight this. I think they have a point. I mean, putting up a banner called, first of all, it's not Brann, the club, who are doing it. It's their fans who put up a banner. Now, clubs are responsible for the banners that they...
You're supposed to be searched, right, before you get in any stadium. I always wonder how these banners get in at stadia.
They get approved by the club.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Exactly.
But I was in Munich, as I mentioned, on Tuesday night. Two banners, and the Bayern Ultras displayed two banners, right? Mm-hmm. One is a banner of solidarity with all the football fans who are currently banned and are banned from attending football matches. The other one was the argument 20's plenty, which is an argument against raising of ticket prices. I think the club has a reason to not approve a banner. Mm-hmm. And obviously Bayern, to their credit, thought, look, just because this might be critical of us, that's not a reason. Mm-hmm. UEFA Mafia implies UEFA is corrupt. So presumably that was UEFA's argument. There's also free speech elements here as well. And I guess that's what the Court of Arbitration for Sport felt. I just thought it was interesting that they kept suing and going all the way. And hey, I guess they can afford to do that over what to most would seem like a paltry fine. But
they fought the law and the law lost.
Exactly. Kevin De Bruyne is leaving Manchester City when his contract expires in June. Rob, some suggest he could team up with that Lionel Messi guy as Inter Miami own his, quote, discovery rights. It's one of those wonderful MLS terms because, of course, Kevin De Bruyne is somebody who needs to be discovered.
I've got a good pal that was a CEO, a president in MLS, and I've tried to get him to explain these things like homegrown players and DPs and discovery rights as well. I believe discovery rights was back in the day when they were started, was it 30 years ago, starting the MLS, where they may find somebody and go, we found this Gab Marcotti guy and we are putting the discovery rights on him before anybody else. I think most people probably know about the talents of Kevin, his intentions of going to MLS. Maybe it's the fact that nobody knew wanted to go to MLS, and maybe wanted to live in LA as well, rather than maybe go to Colorado or Minnesota. I don't really know. But I think there was a great quote recently that back in the day when we did this kind of thing, we just made, I'll substitute a word here, we made stuff up is what they said.
I think obviously Inter Miami already have 3 designated players. There are ways around it because...
there's always a way around it.
But...
there's always a deal to be done, as they say over there.
Yeah, I'm not sure that De Bruyne is what Inter Miami need, but I think if he does go to MLS, I think he's going somewhere else. But I'm not convinced he will go to MLS.
Really?
No.
Ooh. Gab, it is what they call texter time again. Come on, what's he done now?
Yeah, I know you want to hear it, so I'll just do it. It's time! It's time! It's texter time! Okay, this is kind of funny. So, as you know, our hero, John Texter, owns... all or part of a number of clubs. And he decided to make a video for DAZN, who are one of the leading broadcasters in France. And it's nice because it's a video which he takes his clothes off. Ooh, that got me excited as soon as I heard about it. And so basically, he owns Molenbeek, Palace, Lyon, and Botafogo. He was talking about his big weekend. So he comes out, he's wearing a Molenbeek shirt, which obviously nobody knows what that looks like. So he starts talking about the Molenbeek game. Then he removes the shirt. Underneath it, he's got a Palace shirt. Then he talks about Palace's game at the weekend. Then removes it. Talks about Lyon's game at the weekend. Removes that. And he's got the Botafogo shirt underneath. And he talks about Botafogo. And he talks about the Club World Cup. And he says, Botafogo, we're just a small team from Brazil. And we'll be playing a small team from France at the Club World Cup. He doesn't know who it is, but it's Paris Saint-Germain. Because they will be facing each other. Paris Saint-Germain run by his arch enemy. His op, Nasser Al-Khelaifi. Now, according to Texter, Paris Saint-Germain made DAZN take the video down and not air it because it was offensive. So he went on one of his rants on Instagram where he posted the video, obviously. Paris Saint-Germain do not have control of his Instagram account. And he says, censorship is alive and well in France. Okay, if what John Texter says is true, I am 100% Team Texter on this one. He's just making fun. He's having a little bit of fun. If DAZN think, oh no, we need to take this down because we're scared that Nasser might be upset. I don't think Nasser cares about this kind of stuff anyway. So I don't even believe Paris Saint-Germain put pressure on him. But if what Texter says is true, he's 100% right. So well done, JT. I enjoyed watching you do your little striptease with your clubs.
If only people could see your face on the podcast.
I know. They can see it on YouTube.
Exactly.
I am delighted.
Yeah.
All right, Rob, this takes us to an end. Thank you so much for stepping in. I'm going to be back. Jules is still on holiday, as he rightly should be, until Monday. So Stuart Robson will be with us. Until then, love the game, love your neighbor, love yourself.